Hello, my name is Matthew Moffitt. I'm the lead writer for Storymind. You're listening to the Bamsters podcast. Tune in to listen to Val Daniels, game director, and I talk about My Eyes on You.
Alright everyone, and once again, welcome back. This is episode 98 of the Bamsters show. This will be our final episode of 2017, and with me today I have G-Talk.
What?
Which part are you shocked by? The fact that we're here doing this still this year, or that this is the last episode of the year?
No, dude, I'm just watching this Far Cry video. Sorry.
Focus!
Yeah, now you're making me play Warframe. Damn it. Sorry, I'm a bit tired today. Been literally playing Warframe all night. And I'm just here because I'm looking really forward to the interview later on, which me and Jolly are doing. It's going to be awesome, about My Eyes on You. That game looks cool.
I haven't seen anything thus far other than some of the images from the press kit, but I gotta say I like the look of the game.
Yeah, I think looking, what they put out trailer-wise, this new trailer, go check it out. Actually, that'll be later on if you're watching the YouTube version. Otherwise, if you're on iTunes, Android, whatever, go find the trailer. We linked it somewhere, I think.
Alright, well let's kick off this newsy segment before we pass it over to the interview. And I believe you had something from Samsung that you wanted to talk about.
Yes, Samsung. They're making their Bixby home speaker. Well, I'm not sure it's going to be called that. But they're basically going to do exactly what Apple is also doing next year with their Siri speaker home thing, HomePod, the Google Home, and the Amazon Alexa Echo thingy. Basically, a thing that listens to whatever you say constantly and then gets really paranoid about it and turns your lights on and off.
So they're going to try and break into that market. Are we going to start seeing tons of different home speakers? It's going to turn into another cell phone market with all these different brands and OSs?
Well, the fun part is I think there are a few others. Like those ones I just mentioned. The ones from Apple, Amazon, and Alphabet Google. I don't know why they all start with A. They're the ones we know. Even though, again, Apple's is not out yet. I think there's a few Chinese nation, things over in Asia. I think there's a few of them as well. So I've seen some on, Alibaba, I think it's called, AliExpress. But then they're not big names, so we don't hear about them. I think Huawei is planning on doing something. There's another Chinese brand, I can't remember what it's called, that seems to be planning something. But Samsung, they have TVs, DVD players, Blu-ray players. They have a lot of devices. So if there's anybody who's really lined up to be able to tag into all of that, it's Samsung. So they're the last ones to announce it of the four ones, but they're the ones who really should be able to take this one home.
So are they yet talking about how they plan to differentiate themselves from the other devices that are already out there?
Nah, it's they're going to say, or they are saying, it will be especially audio quality specific thing, and that's also what Apple is saying. And they're saying they'll be $200 cheaper than Apple, or about $150, $200. And they will probably synchronize, as I said, with all the Samsung equipment. And the last thing is really the differentiator, because Google doesn't have any equipment they're synchronized with. Amazon synchronizes with its web store, like you can order stuff on it. And Apple, they don't really have anything else either. So Samsung can differentiate with that. But whether buyers understand that and whether they latch onto it is another matter. So right now, everybody's just pointing out, it'll be cheaper than Apple. Okay, but an Echo Dot, the small one, costs like €50, €40. So that's the cheapest option.
So what kind of features is this thing going to have? Is it just, other than just listening in, is it going to be, play your music and connect with your smartphone or act as an alarm clock?
I'm going to say it will have exactly the same features as Google and Apple's and Amazon's. Feature-wise, it won't differ. It'll just be able to connect more directly to a few devices.
So if it does act as an alarm clock, you think maybe you can just tell it to snooze instead of hitting the snooze button?
Possibly. The headache is I have Amazon Echo, but I don't have an Echo device. I have it via a third-party device that I have, and it works like shite. And they are in-ears speakers thingies. Well, earphones, in-ears. So I have not tried sleeping with them and then waking up and telling them to, snooze. That would be really weird because I don't think I can fall asleep with them in my ears.
That's okay. That's just me working really hard to actually steer the topic to our next topic.
Yeah, what's the next topic?
Facebook is integrating a snooze button, so when you follow someone who maybe is a close friend, family member, or even a celebrity that annoys you, you can snooze them for 30 days so you don't have to see their posts.
Is this their way of reacting to US and UK both being Trumpsterfiers at this point?
It's possible. I think also it's their way for reacting to when things flare up in the news and then everybody jumps on a bandwagon about something. In my case, something like this might have been useful, especially when it comes to spoilers and stuff for certain movies, so that you could... I'd love a feature like this in Twitter, where if people tweeted using a certain hashtag, I just didn't see it for a period of time.
You can do that in Twitter. There's a feature in Twitter. You go in and say, I don't want to see any post that involves the word Jedi. And whoopty, your Twitter feed is a lot better.
Is that time limited, though, or is it just forever?
It's until you delete it, so when you think it's safe, you go in and delete it again.
I may have to look into that.
No, but seriously, you can just put in Trump, and it'll delete anything with him. Like, anybody who's bitching about him, whatever, you can delete, put in, like, WH for White House. A lot of political stuff just goes away.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. I'm definitely going to have to look into that a little bit more then.
And, you could put in Bethesda, and suddenly it sounds like all video games are without bugs.
Why are you picking on Bethesda, man?
Well, why not?
Fair enough.
We've been picking on EA, now it's Bethesda. We'll find somebody else to pick on, I'm about to say next week. There's not an episode next week.
I think there's somebody else we could pick on right now. We could pick on YouTube and Google a little bit. They released a VR app, which I guess is non-functional for a lot of users.
Yeah, I saw that in the list. I didn't really read about it, but I know Google has dropped Tango, their old AR solution, and are now focusing on Google AR. But this seems to be completely unrelated to that, so I'm kind of confused.
Well, from what I was reading, it was released on Daydream and Steam VR, and it's supposed to allow people to watch YouTube videos, inside of VR in a 3D interface. Now, the problem from what I was seeing is that I'm guessing, because this was built specifically for the HTC Vive, that there are a lot of people having issues with it. Now, here's the funny thing. So, they're releasing this, and they're releasing it for Google Daydream, but it was something that was built specifically for the Vive, and I know there's got to be differences in how they handle those things. Daydream is a Google thing. I can't believe that they didn't test this more before they put it out there.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Google, and particularly YouTube, just puts things out without really testing things. This isn't new as far as I'm concerned. They've put out things that didn't work repeatedly. So why Google or Alphabet really likes to call things, it's a beta.
That sounds like the place where I work, man. They constantly say, oh, we've tested it. Yeah, no. We are the testing environment.
Just test in production. It's quicker made.
Yeah, maybe, but it leads to a lot of problems and frustration with the user base.
Who cares about users?
Well, I have to.
Well, moving on a little bit, just because it's news and VR apps don't really, tickle my fancy. I thought it was interesting. Autodesk, they've been cutting down their staff by like 13% this year. And amongst that, they've just announced that they are discontinuing their game development engine, Stingray.
I didn't even know Autodesk had made a game development engine. But then I'm not a game developer, so that's probably why.
Well, it's part of what stuff they bought up and integrated and stuff. Earlier this year, they basically shut down Scaleform, Beast, Human Naked Navigation, which were all things that were used. They're not game development engines themselves. They're middleware, stuff that does things. Scaleform has been used in a lot of games. You'll see that pretty much every Windows game I play probably shows up with that screen that says, oh yeah, this is our title and we made this, and then there's all these weird logos around it, and Scaleform is almost always in there. This is just one that they're now they shut down earlier, and now they're shutting down the standalone engine. And the argument is, everybody is using either Unity or Unreal, so why have a third one? Might want to tell that to Crytek and Lumberyard thing, but, well, that's their argument. They don't care anymore. They'd rather work with Unity and with Unreal to better integrate Autodesk's software, particularly the modeling software, etc., their core business, into those products, so you can, move things over, you can model in one place and then go and see how it looks in Unity.
I would say that seems to kind of make sense. I'd say almost, not every single interview, but almost every interview people we've talked to over the last couple of years, it's been Unity or Unreal, and I think it's mostly been Unity that people have been developing in.
Yeah, particularly first-time developers, indie developers, will pick up Unity because it has certain advantages in that regard. It's just Unreal is more overwhelming. Stingray, I don't think has ever actually been free. Like the two other ones are technically free under certain circumstances as long as you don't release a game. This is kind of weird. But Stingray came along with MyALT, so if you was in a studio that used MyALT, you would have had access to Stingray. And that's kind of how they wanted to sell it. So, yeah, they concluded it's not going to work. They're not going to maintain it anymore from, I think, January. And if you have MyALT, you can still, the long-term subscriptions, you can still get it. You can still have access to it, and you can still use it. But there won't be any significant updates. There won't really be any work done on it anymore.
Well, still, that's kind of interesting. They're moving on to, with what mainstream is they're moving to the mainstream things, I should say.
Yeah, and if you look at various game studios, particularly ones that have been using Autodesk software, they've during this year have come out several have said, we're re-implementing this part of our game. Think games as a service situation like PlanetSide, Warframe, etc. Some of those kinds of games, World of Warcraft would be one you might have played. I don't know if they are using any of these, but it's an example of a games as a service. They've come out and said, for our future releases, etc., we're moving away from these middleware from Autodesk because they're no longer being maintained.
Well, that's funny you say that. World of Warcraft is a game you would think that I would have played, and, without the monthly fee, I probably would have played a long time ago. Because I just don't get enough time to play games as I would like, I didn't feel I would get enough out of it to justify paying a monthly fee, so that was one I never did play, but I've heard good things and seen good things about it.
Yeah, it was one of those. I played 20 levels, I think, and I recognized this was a Skinner box of proportions and walked away. It's just, hell no. I know what this is going to end with, and you can see it today. Well, it's less so today, but, go back a couple of years, there were a lot of people who were hooked on that thing and just couldn't walk away anymore.
Like good old Evercrack.
Precisely, and it was just, this one is done well. No hell I'm touching this long term. I'm just, level 20, that was the free play version. Tested it, gone. Done. But I think they probably pretty much everything in World of Warcraft is done internally, more or less by now. But, I mostly brought it up as an example for games as a service. Games that are continuously developed upon as opposed to, here's my money, here's your broken ass thing, we might release a bug fix later.
A lot of games seem to have moved to that particular model.
Well, they saw Bethesda. Ouch.
Well, and on that note, I guess I'll switch over to our last topic for this block, and that is that Ubisoft has released a gameplay trailer for Far Cry 5 that's due out early next year.
Do you know what? I can see your notes. I know what you want to bring up, but there's something else I want to bring up. Every Ubisoft game looks the same now. I'm not kidding. That looks like Wildlands, and then there's there's a segment in the trailer where he pulls out his glider thingy. That's taken straight out of Steep. It's the same game, just reskinned. Well, it's all those games are the same engine and just reskinned and repurposed.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I wouldn't be surprised if it's all the same engine, so yeah, that doesn't shock me at all. Yeah, it's very Far Cry, and about the only thing I think that looks any different is it looks more American.
Yeah, Murican.
Wait, say that again?
Murican? The U.
So, yeah, if you haven't seen it, and I'm sure we'll put a link in the description, go check out the trailer. It looks pretty cool. If you enjoy the Far Cry games, I'm sure you're going to, enjoy this one as well.
What's that dude from InfoWars? The guy who keeps screaming.
Yeah?
You might not have seen it. There's I think he's on YouTube probably. He does like a radio show where he's just screaming about the CIA is out to get us and there's chemicals in our water, and he's just insane. I can't remember his name, but his channel, his radio program is called InfoWars. He's really, truly balls to the walls insane and absolutely convinced everybody's out to get him, particularly the government. And I can just, take, Ghost Recon Wildlands and then mix him in, and I think you get more or less this Americanized Far Cry.
Well, just because you can't see them or hear them doesn't mean they're not out to get you.
Everybody's out to get me. Aren't you being a little bit paranoid? Of course I'm paranoid. Everybody's out to get me. Sorry, that was actually a Star Trek quote. Goody, was that all we had? Because I'll just say, on that one, it looks like a nice game. It looks like really well made. And I'm happy for Ubisoft they go this way, because people might have seen my complaints about Wildlands was the way they just went, oh yeah, we'll just completely paint a wrong picture of a foreign country. Pissing on America, I have no problems with them doing, even though Ubisoft's actually Canadian.
That reminds me, you were talking about a show we watched one time where they were talking about, was it the Estonian Mafia? But you're like, there's no such thing.
Person of interest, there's an episode where the Estonian Mafia is in New York doing things. And we watched it, and I happen to know a little bit of Estonian. Nobody I know could make out what they were saying. The Estonians in that one just did not speak anything recognizable. It's just pure gibberish. And disclaimer, amongst me and my friends, we speak a lot of languages. Nobody could recognize what the hell they were supposed to be speaking, but it wasn't Estonian.
All right, guys. Well, on that note, I guess we're going to close this up here and pass you on over to the interview. So stick around after the break and listen to G and Jolly talk to the guys from
Storymind Entertainment, and the game is My Eyes on You. And the guests will be Val Daniels, and they changed it, so we're not getting Tony, we're getting Matthew something. He will say his name when he shows up. I'm a little bit tired, I'm gonna go get a nap before we get to the interview. Meanwhile, listen to somebody say something.
I guess that's my cue to say, stick around, we'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Val Daniels. I'm a game director at Storymind Entertainment. Talk about an action-adventure title, My Eyes on You, on Bamster's podcast, along with Matthew Moffitt, lead writer.
And welcome back to the last one of the year, and I'm joined by G. What's going on?
Hey man, yeah, it's the last one, despite Bam last episode saying it was the last one. This one's the last one. He's taking an early Christmas break. But yeah, it's the interview part, and we're joined by Storymind Entertainment, the game director and game designer Val Daniels, and writer Matthew Moffitt. Welcome, guys.
Hello, folks.
Hey, all. Happy to be here.
So, you guys, I should say, at least one of you is sitting in Ukraine, or both of you?
I'm actually sitting in Ukraine. I'm in Kyiv right now.
Yeah, and actually, I'm doing this on holiday. I'm in Hong Kong right now, so it's about 12:30 in the morning. Yeah.
Oh man, sorry about that one. I didn't know you were that far away. Meanwhile, Europe and US, we're pretty much recording around the planet.
True. I mean, we even have people in our team who are actually not just in the United States, but, we have one person from Southeast Asia as well, so we're pretty much all around the planet.
Val, who's from Southeast Asia,
Now we have one guy. He's a character artist. He's from Southeast Asia. I believe he is from Malaysia.
Yeah, so this, for you guys, Bamsters, this highlights kind of the, difficulties of being remote. Half the time, oftentimes we're speaking through text a lot, and different hours, different countries, organizing different things. So it gets dicey along the way.
Yeah. I mean, the communication is the whole thing in this project and in this company right now. Yeah. But I hope we'll figure that out in the months to come.
Well, I guess, as you said, you're in Kyiv, you have people in the US, one on vacation in Hong Kong, Southeast Asia. It is quite the international team you've got going.
It is. Even though, most people are still in Kyiv, we have some people in Kharkiv, some people in Dnipro, which are the Ukrainian cities, but most of them are still in Kyiv. I could say that our 3D department is in Kyiv, animation department is in Kyiv, motion capture studio is in Kyiv. So I'd say most of our people are in Kyiv. So if it would be 50-50 or 30-30-40 ratio, then that would be harder, much harder. I don't know what we would do. We would have to fly everyone to a certain place to get together and make this game.
Well, I'm assuming once the game, which we'll get to in a moment, gets released, that's going to be an interesting release party.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I haven't thought how we're going to celebrate it and where, probably the most important question is.
Well, let's get into the game, shall we? Because this is one of those that I've been following a little bit Well, let's say a little bit from afar because there haven't been that much information coming out about it, but you now have a trailer out, and it's My Eyes on You, a nice little action-adventure mystery game, where, if I'm getting it right, you play as an FBI agent?
Yeah, FBI analyst. You know, and there's a whole reason of why, you know, we specify FBI analyst. You know, Val, did you want to take this one?
Yeah, we have a protagonist who's an FBI analyst. Because of his psychological condition, he cannot be an FBI agent from the get-go. And we emphasize that. And he often performs a function in the game. He often performs a function of that are not very, you know, you don't expect such functions to be performed by a person who is an FBI analyst. But he's very skillful. He has his attitude, he has his mentality, he has his mindset for work. But he has certain I would say problems in social interaction that prevent him from becoming an FBI agent.
So he's having issues. So he failed the exams. He wasn't able to become an agent.
Yes, it is so. It is so. He's hypersensitive person. His senses work for investigation, and sometimes they work against the protagonist. Like he has a high level of anxiety generally. So dealing with anxiety and coping with it is one of the challenges in the game. You know, you really have to keep it low. It reflects gameplay big time.
So there's like a meter type thing going off while you're playing the game that like you get anxious and stuff gets harder on you.
We actually we're brainstorming this idea right now. We're not sure about the meter now. We're not sure because you can abuse the meter, and that's the thing that we are trying to tackle. It's not so simple. You can't just have a meter and people just, some people who are smart enough that they will abuse the meter. I think it's, we don't know that yet. We're just thinking about how to include that in mechanics, but we're sure that it's going to be part of the game or a very organic part of the game. What can be said about the anxiety is that it doesn't help you to fight. For instance, it doesn't help you in in interaction with other people. Your motives can be revealed to other persons because you're anxious. You have to really keep it low.
Yeah, if you definitely had a meter, there's gamers, and they will try to get just to the edge that they can get as they still play through the game. Yeah, gamers will always try to exploit something if they can.
Yeah, and I think from the writing aspect, one of the things that you want to do is you want to immerse the gamer into the world and kind of tell your storytelling, not just through dialogue and stuff, but also through, the game environment. And as Val pointed out, having a meter or just, as you mentioned, like gamers will be able to manipulate that. But just having a meter is kind of a simplistic way of capturing something that is very complex for Jordan, the main character in the game.
So you talked about the environment. From the trailers, it's taking place like majority in a city, big city. This is Chicago, I think. Like any reason picked Chicago? It's a very awesome looking Chicago. I like the neon lights. I was digging. I would actually visit this Chicago. Normal Chicago, not so much.
There's actually probably two reasons to use Chicago. Is the reason number one, Chicago has a history of criminal activity, along its history. I think if people heard about Chicago, they would know about it immediately pops in their head that, okay, that's crimes, usually connected to Chicago.
There's a little bit of history there, yes. Just a tiny bit.
Yeah. Now, the other reason, we wanted to exploit that, that point, like the history thing. I mean, it makes perfect sense for Chicago, but we have this second thing is that that's been a pretty massive Italian immigration, let's say a few waves of Italian immigration specifically to Illinois, and they brought their culture there. So in the game, we go to extreme with that. We show the alternative version of Chicago. It looks somewhat like real, but in fact it is deviantly surreal. It's not much about, just thugs disguising themselves, as much as it's about people of the city trying to disguise their private lives, which are full of controversy.
Well, let me dig into that one a little bit, because that was part of what I found interesting, at least in the blurb and the pitch that we were sent, about the inhabitants of this Chicago, this quite neon-noir Chicago. And I love the style. I'm completely in love with how it's made. And I've been checking out some of the other work by your colleague Anton Skior. He's doing some pretty awesome work there. But the people in this Chicago, the inhabitants, that it says they live and breathe carnival culture all year round.
Yeah, Tony Skior is one of the most progressive painters in the Kyiv, I believe. That's for my opinion. I think he's one of the best painters here. That's for sure. He came up with that visual style. He's very inspired by that. Chicago has its neon history as well. I mean, I know there's a bunch of places who did as well, like Las Vegas, Tokyo, Hong Kong, by the way, many ways, did. And we purposefully picked Chicago. Well, first of all, people should understand American setting. Number two is that Chicago is a very criminalized place. Used to be and is, I would assume. But yeah, we took it to another level. We have alternative version of Chicago, and people live differently. Not only do people have a culture of carnival, this Italian carnival, but people actually took it and they have it basically in their private lives as well. So it's not just a culture of a carnival in the city. It's also the culture of everything carnival in your daily situation, basically. People wear masks. Some people wear masks, not only on carnival, but as a part of their dress, so to speak, which is an interesting thing to us. And we chose this particular thing. People choose to wear masks, and they, some of those people even count that, the mask is a part of their identity.
There could be whole psychology books written about this, hiding behind masks and taking on other identities.
You're right. That's why I'm currently reading books in sociology and psychology. Like, those are very boring books, but I just have to read them because we're writing this setting at basically what I figured out recently, that if we do that, rules and laws work differently for people who wear the mask and those who don't wear the mask, which is an interesting thing, actually.
Yeah, and Val, you and I were just talking about this prior to starting the podcast. And by the way, you're kind of insulting my field. Bamsters, he's saying that my sociology books are boring.
Ouch.
Sorry.
Before I started writing for Storymind, part-time writer, but my full-time thing, I'm a licensed clinical psychologist now at this point. At the time, I was in graduate school. And so much of my field...
That's why he's the right person to do it.
Yeah, much of my field is kind of exploring what you just said about, people wearing masks, people living double lives, people making choices that conflict with the values that they profess they have. And so how does that play out now in a Italian carnival culture where people now get to choose the persona that they wear?
Oh, is that something we get to explore? The internal versus external value propositions in society, how you react versus how you want to be seen reacting.
You hit the nail on the head.
Okay, now I really want to play this game, damn it. You guys need to hurry up the development a little bit.
We basically, I can say the development for this game basically started only in 2017 in the Q3, I believe it started second half. Before that, Wanted to start earlier, 2016. We haven't because we had no enough team for that, enough people in the team for that. But we pretty much we got pretty much all people that we need right now. So we were basically started development in, I should say, probably in August. That's when it started. We have very different people in the team, and I would basically divide the team into two parts. One part of the team worked in game development. Another part of the team worked in the motion picture industry. And very different people. Those people who worked on the motion picture industry, they brought visual effects, and they brought the lighting, they brought the concepts of perspective into the game. And we also have several people. We have a big part of people who worked in game dev previously, and those who didn't as well. But for instance, our leads came from, I would say, from projects that many people know, like Witcher 3 and Stalker and Metro franchise, which is Metro Last Light games. They're those people who came from the studios that made those games. They're pretty much maintaining. They keep doing what they were doing. They're just doing it now. For My Eyes on You, for instance, we have a character artist. Our lead character artist was making characters for Witcher 3 and made the characters for specifically Witcher and several other characters. He's also made Jordan for us, and he's working on other characters as well.
That's some pretty okay credentials, I would say. That's specifically a game that's known for its character models.
Yeah, right. We probably on our way to have couple of more guys from these studios, but not going to talk about it right now because, well, would be correct on my side, but maybe on the visual effects part, we're probably going to hire another person from some serious studio to the visual effects because we obviously need that. But that's intricacies of development process. Probably the biggest issue I would like to emphasize in development process is probably communication. Now, because we currently don't have office, but we hope to get one in spring. I think more specifically, I think it's going to happen in April. And that's the moment when we get together. Most of us, at least. That will be much easier to develop this game.
The office in Kyiv?
Yeah, for now, yes. But we also consider an office in another country as well. So we're seriously considering that. I can't say like where right now, but we have a few options.
Okay, so when you say that, you basically see the team as sort of being two segments. One is the game development, another one is more cinematic. How does that influence the game? To which degree is it? Should we expect a lot of cutscenes, a lot of quick time events? Or when you say it's an action-adventure game, do we still have to, throw the punches ourselves?
Yes, this is still an action-adventure game. This is not an interactive movie. I don't particularly consider interactive movies a game. No, I don't want anybody to be insulted by that. For instance, I don't think The Heavy Rain is a game by any means. Because, game is basically attempt to reach the end under some certain rules and circumstances. And in games like Heavy Rain or The Wolf Among Us, which we were inspired by the way, you reach the end anyways, regardless of what you do. So no. This is going to be a game. We definitely going to have cutscenes, but they're not intrusive cutscenes, and it's a seamless experience. We aim at something like. You can say the Naughty Dog and the Remedy games, they have a cinematic experience as well. People are not, it's not that they're not happy about the cinematic experience, as long as you do it right, as long as you do it right.
Yeah, I specifically chose that, the comparison, cinematic experiences and cutscenes inside the game, as long as they're, as long as they don't break the experience, don't break the flow, are usually accepted, but quick time events, I think most games are getting away from them because they just don't really feel well. They break the flow of the gameplay.
I think, yeah, absolutely. I think we picked the cinematic experience for the reason of that we have pretty interesting characters, and we one of the most intricate parts and one of the most interesting parts. And I think this is why people will love the game. And I think because of personal stories that we provide people with. Personal stories require cutscenes in many ways. There's other ways to build empathy to characters. For instance, in Half-Life 2, Gordon Freeman had a friendship with Alex Wentz, and you didn't have cutscenes with their relationship, showcase of their relationship there. But it usually built in the gameplay that you build a relationship with a person. People could emphasize that, but we're probably gonna have that, and we also wanted to do it through cinematic experience, just like Naughty Dog does. I think when I read the script of what Matthew has been writing all this time, is I've seen a lot of personal moments in the story. I see like no other way how we can emphasize the importance of those moments without the good cutscenes.
Well, I'll be looking forward to seeing how you do it ultimately. I want to jump a little bit into the story bits, just to get a feel for where you're heading in that area as well, particularly since we have the writer here. So we've already established you play as Jordan, who's an FBI analyst, as opposed to a field agent. And there's in the blurb, there's mentions of the carnival man has claimed a murder victim, but that was some time ago, and he might be coming back. There's now also the man in the red mask, which again seems to allude to this whole people covering themselves in masks and the carnival culture. That this is one of the potentially one of the antagonists for Jordan. It's kind of curious which direction you're heading with these. What's the intent?
Yeah, good questions. And just to clarify, the man in the red mask and Carnival Man, these are one and the same. And when he has claimed a victim, we've set it up to where we've had he's killed a victim every year on the eve or around the carnival celebration, right before the Lenten feast for 40 days and 40 nights. And then he just suddenly stops. And so he's claimed 5 victims for 5 years, and then he stops for 5 years. And now we have a fresh victim. So it's 10 years in the making. And is it Carnival Man? Is it somebody else, a copycat? And how does Jordan go about with the task force kind of devising how are we going to catch this guy because we didn't do it the first time? And is it actually him or is it somebody else?
So the story revolves around figuring out who that person is, finding clues, one would assume, some detective work, some footwork in deducing how did this person die or get killed, and what's the link back to the previous murders.
Exactly, and it's going to involve detective work, and as Val said, we really want to try to tell the story not just with cutscenes, but with gameplay. And so, story unfolds. Jordan's abilities are used in game mechanics, and so you learn about Jordan as you use those game mechanics. You learn about what he's good at, what he struggles with, and how you as a player can help Jordan overcome them using game mechanics. Telling all that through a cutscene, although it can be done, makes it more difficult.
I'm just brainstorming a little bit because that's what happens when talking to people like YouTube and the enthusiasm behind your project and everything. The mind runs wild a little bit, and I would say cutscenes could work, as long as it's things like flashbacks. Because if you have events set 5-10 years back, if this Jordan, our FBI analyst, has experienced Carnival Man's work in the past, there could definitely be options for flashbacks that are perfectly valid because they happened in the past. They're not necessarily gameplay events.
Oh, absolutely, and there's opportunities for those. I think everything in moderation. If I always kind of go back to Metal Gear Solid 4 when that was released, and I remember like sitting down being so excited to play that, and then we got an hour and a half of like dialogue and introduction, and I'm more from the novelist perspective of info dumping. You talk about info dumping. You don't want to just tell everything to the player the same way. You don't want to just tell everything to the reader. You want to show them. And so showing how Jordan solves problems, showing how he interacts with other people, that goes a long way with giving us a sense of who he is as a person. But then going to your point, though, flashbacks definitely, cutscenes are definitely, there's a lot of cutscenes, Val, that, as Val has read through the script, that there are a lot of cutscenes. I think we've talked about cutting a few, but yeah, everything in moderation.
Yeah, totally. And but you just said that correctly, by the way. All the exposition, I think most of the exposition should not be in the cutscenes, should be in the gameplay. People should find out, should be exposed to the story and setting in the gameplay, not in cutscenes. And I think that's what's cool about it. We're really aiming for it.
Yeah, and we take an example of Uncharted 4, or any of the Uncharted. When you're developing Nathan and Elena's relationship, you're not only developing it through cutscenes, but you develop it through working together. Is you as playing as Nathan, working with Elena through these things, and the dialogue that happens as you're playing. Especially in Uncharted 4, where I don't know if you haven't played. Spoiler alert, but discussing their relationship and what has transpired in the last few weeks as he's gone on this mission.
Definitely some interesting games you're mentioning there, and I think there's some good basis for inspiration. Is that the right way of saying it? Yeah. I would say it's good things to strive for. I like how, particularly those games, the Uncharted series have done it really well with exposing you to what is actually going on between the people, what is actually going on around them. So if you hit that note, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be even more eager to play this game now.
Yeah, and going back from a novelist perspective, because that's how I got started. It's like, one of the first things you learn is you have people read your work and you say, what are the points in the story where you feel pull out as a reader? When you kind of just question, like you pause and say you're not fully within the story, and you take those moments and you try to hopefully eliminate them as best as possible, that they're completely gone from the final draft. The same is with writing a script for a game, is having, and this comes with testing this, but having people identify, when do you feel pulled out of the story? Is it too much exposition? Is it doesn't feel right with the character? The dialogue doesn't make sense. All this kind of stuff has to be reviewed and poured over. Going back to just the initial question that you posed about, cutscenes and flashbacks, and the idea is that we never ever want to have a moment where the player pauses and is like, what's going on? I feel like I'm pulled out of the story, because that's when we've lost them.
I'm thinking back to part of a previous job of mine, looking at storyboards for stories, having that laid out in front of you. It's one of the most interesting things I've ever done personally, looking at them and understanding where is the story and where's it going and how does it flow. And you're right, the moment there's a disconnect, the moment the story doesn't flow forward, you've lost the reader, the viewer, the player.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that's crucial. You think about, and you said like Uncharted 4 is a great template. The Last of Us, once again another Naughty Dog game, but you think of these games that have really, not once did you pause and were like, okay, what? Like, that doesn't make sense with what we've known so far about this character. That you just you were in it, you were absorbed in the world, and that's what we have to do with My Eyes on You. Yeah,
suspension of disbelief versus the suspension of belief that you get pulled out of it. Quite important things in these, particularly in video games, I find.
Now, it's interesting that it works in game development and game industry specifically. It's just you're able to make a great exposition through gameplay experience. It's just amazing, because when I watch movies, I don't see it like nowadays. Like Nowadays, you watch movies and you have like this exposition just falling on you right away from this first second. You know, they expose you to the world and how it works in the first few sentences. Somebody says something, and you know, oh, this is how it works. But that was so obvious. But you know, this character wouldn't talk to another character like that, you know, because they both know what the rules are, but they still explain the rules to each other in the movie, which is ridiculous.
Oh god, I could talk for hours, but I positively hate it. When you watch, whether it's a movie or TV show, and you go, within the first few minutes, you can predict the rest of the movie by the things they've shown you, by the sentences they've said, by the people they presented. Okay, now I know that thing's going to happen, that thing's going to happen, and that thing's going to break, and those people are going to fight. Done. I know what's going on because the exposition early on has been that heavy.
Yes, exactly. And gameplay experience, you know, allows us to get rid of that. So you explore the world, and the world just unfolds to you. Okay, this is how you get exposed. That's it. End of story.
Yeah.
I want to say that people that who do this really well, you know, Dark Souls does this really well, where you uncover the world, or particularly now I'm thinking of Bloodborne, but you uncover the world with each. You know, there's not a lot. I don't think there's any dialogue in Bloodborne. Like, I mean, there's a few, but like you're not like learning about the character, but you're learning about the world with each quest that you're doing and each kind of new discovery that you're making. But you also learn about the character. You know, there's not a lot of dialogue conveying that, but each step that your character takes in Dark Souls or Bloodborne, you unravel a new layer of what's going on and what situation you're in.
But isn't that an option you also particularly have in your game? Considering you've chosen this quite iconic city like Chicago, the setting alone, the places where you send the characters, put the events, can tell volumes about what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead, Val.
Jordan, interesting thing is that Jordan actually, there's another thing is that Jordan also learns about himself as he on the run, and as he moves, you know, and he progresses through the story, and he learns about people. The thing that we have is that we have a gradual change of views in the game, and that also has everything to do with, you know, Jordan worldview, because he starts with one worldview and he ends totally with another worldview. And we see gradually how it gradually unfolds and how he changes and, you know, cleans up his acts. And you know, and you can probably only do that through gameplay. You know, people have to play it. They have to live it through, so to speak. And then, you know, then they will be able to empathize with him. You know, he's not that good character or a bad character. He's in a lot of ways a great character. Well, just like all other, you know, people in Maya Zunya.
He's not a flat character from what it sounds like.
God, I hope not. Then I haven't done my job. You know, it's you know, it can't be that way. And it just can't be. You know, it's something that we have to, as the player, ride on Jordan's coattails. We see the world through Jordan's lens, and so if it's coming off flat or two-dimensional, it's just not going to work.
So we have this thing going. Like we have a value clash in his head, because Jordan obviously. In the beginning, he wants to be a part of this world, this beautiful neon lit world, and you know, he wants to be a part of it, and he can't because he's so socially awkward person. And
so, how long are you shooting for the story to actually last? Are we like a couple hours here? Hopefully, a few hours. Like, it's gonna be a long game by chance?
You know, I can tell you in pages the script outline what we're looking at. I think I'm pushing like 600 pages right now with the script, because you know there's multiple choices that you can make and you have to do, you know, divergent dialogues with stuff, which we're doing. But I think 127 pages, which came over to a little bit over 2 hours. And just for that, we're about 600 pages just with story. There's no diverging dialogue yet or anything like that. So if that's strictly story, is a 600 pages. So that gives you an idea of what you're seeing and what you're going to be playing and what dialogue's happening. So it's a lot so far.
Fair enough. And let's be honest, I'm sure a dozen pages or so in Heavy Rain was just the guy running around screaming Jason.
It was right?
Like, I played Heavy Rain, and it was a lot of Jason screaming. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's hilarious. That's the real twist in that game. Is Jason like wanted to run away?
Exactly. He hurt his dad. I know he did. Like, oh no, nope. So how's it go from writing? Like, they get your story and everything, and do they like show you as they're doing it? It's like, oh no, I didn't want it that way. I wanted it more like this, like the dialogue between you and whoever's designing the characters or the level.
Yeah, good question. I started, novel writing is a solo job until you get to the editing portion where the editor says, you need to change this or you need to do that, and you discuss it. But Val and I, he gave me a lot of freedom on coming up with the characters and the choices they make in the character development and what happens in the game. Val kind of said, go with it, run with it, come up with something, and then we'll discuss. And so far I've been, it's been pretty grateful on my end. I've been very grateful of, Val being able to let me do that because, there could have been, at every step of the way, Val could have said, nope, I don't want that. We don't want that. Change it. Do this.
We had, like, me and Tony, we both started it, but we had a concept of the story of the setting. We had the setup, but I wanted, like, a professional to do the story and stuff, so we found Matthew, and he's a novelist, and he has a record in clinical psychology, and, he's a certified doctor, I assume, and, I thought that he's perfectly fit for the job. So I believe, I loved what he wrote. He wrote some great stuff. There's a book called Went to Joshua, written by Matthew Moffitt. So he has some great writing. I just trusted his writing. So far, what I've seen, the latest draft of the story, it's been really good by how he unfolds characters, how they interact. Like, I would have never done that way. Nobody would have done that way in our team. So,
do we get an Amazon link so we can put it in below the description of this episode? Buy this book.
It's for the plug, Val. My novel.
Yes, look at the book. Look at the book. The book is great. Put a positive review on it.
Thank you. It's a much different beast writing. Going back to the original question, it's a much different beast writing screenplay or script versus a novel. Just in particular, like I said, first off, novel is all you writing it multiple drafts, and then you're submitting it somewhere and hoping somebody picks it up. With this, we're talking, how does this dialogue relate to, what I've written here? How do we translate this into, what this person's actually going to do via motion capture? All of that has to be taken into account because, we're telling something that's interactive now. It's a different media.
Right. We have a motion capture studio. You moved to this topic swiftly, but we have a motion capture studio here in Kyiv, pretty good one. We're like planning ahead for what we're going to record in the months to come. We're currently developing a demonstration level that will be playable. I'm not sure, like, who are we going to give this level to? But it will be playable, that's for sure. People will see it. And we're preparing, like, we have to know for sure, like, how much of a motion capture we have to make. We have to discuss with Matt what scenes we're going to have, what we want to show. So it's a lot of consultation with Matthew. between me, Matthew, and the game designer, and in the months to come. And we think of the date. I think it will be March. I think we're aiming that for March. There's gonna be we show a gameplay along with the story, basically, and we unfold the story through the gameplay. And we have a script for this demo, but it's probably multiple things probably going to be added to the script, and Matthew will have to look it over and over and over and over again. This is how the story-based game are done. You review something all the time.
Yeah, FYI, Val literally just dropped this on me. I had no idea I was going to have to do multiple edits. I thought we were done with it, but whatever.
Yeah, I just dropped it on you. But, No, I mean...
No, if we take something simple that I wrote, and if you see in the demo trailer that we just released about Jordan counting to 5 to calm himself down, I mean, that's kind of something that's really basic, right? Of how do we show this person has developed something as simple as counting to 5 to be able to lower his anxiety. But it gets much more detailed and intricate with the game mechanics because, with Jordan's difficulties in his sensations and not wanting to reveal too much, but the environment will aggravate Jordan's senses. So he's really good at smelling things, hearing things, but that also means that there's a consequence for those things. So how, if he smells something too strong, he'll become overwhelmed. And so the player has to calm Jordan down. And that's part of the game mechanics. I can write that, but how do we actually convey that to the player?
In Chicago, the places that you pick, that too much smell will overwhelm you. I don't know.
You can't have a pizza rat in Chicago. Those things are huge.
Oh, man. Write that in, Val. Jordan encounters pizza rat. See how he deals with that.
I'm just thinking that the deep dish Chicago pizza things, poor rat would be struggling moving it anywhere.
That is true. Pizza rat would probably need to lift weights or something before he's able to move that pizza.
Which in turn means Jordan's going to have a proper anxiety attack because he's looking at this 2-foot rat fighting with a deep dish pizza.
Well, that's when he just says no and turns away.
Nope. New script idea. Pizza rat.
I don't know what to make of it. I think it's an Easter egg or what? Man, let's take it in. Thanks to Pizza Rat. Folks, we need your last names. We're gonna include you into special thanks section in credits.
I'm just disappointed it's not a bacon rat.
Philly steak and cheese pizza, or pineapple pizza. All right, so you have Chicago as the city, and all the neon lights add to the atmosphere of the game, it seems. And I also was noted in the trailer, some very nice music. Is that some music that you guys picked yourself, or you have somebody making it, or?
Tony. I know who's to blame. It's Tony. Tony's responsible for the music taste. At least for the part of it. I mean, we have this synth wave, a little bit vapor wave, and, all this style deriving from 80s, because 80s are now really in the trend as befits a different fashion. It disappears and then returns through time. And in our case, I would say it just coincided that our style entered the trend. But we don't bet on it. Our goal is to make the game people are going to like to play, even when the hype for Neon in the 80s goes down.
I think, what's his name? Makeup and Vanity Set. He does some pretty nice synthwave that might just fit in nicely. I'm thinking about one of the images,
Perturbator.
Who?
Perturbator, maybe? Perturbator. Huh?
Might be. Because I'm thinking, there was that image, I guess, is it inside or just outside of a bar where it says, if you don't belong, don't be long? And it's just that image has quite a feel to it. I think, yeah, that synthwave and 80s style could work well there.
Yeah, and it also shows how this world is, who this world picks for heroes, if you don't feel like you belong here, then you don't belong here. Only cool people, only cool community stays here. The community thinks of itself as as a light among darkness. This is definitely how Chicago is displayed in the game. This alternative version of it, like this carnival neon lit Chicago, is like it's like ancient Rome among all these barbarian provinces. Everyone wants to go to Rome because this is the light in the darkness.
Yeah, but it's not that lit. I mean, there's not that much light in some of the scenes. It was actually, I was looking at the trailer and it was reminding me a little bit the color of the year. I don't know if you caught this. Pantone keeps going out and say the color of the year 2018 will be so and so, and this time it's ultraviolet, which is this really deep, dark blue-violet color that's been featured quite prominently in a few movies, and it's not quite there, but there's some of the scenes in the trailer that hits it.
That's true. Yes, that's true. That's done on purpose because it's not on purpose because we have this huge contrast, sharp contrast between light and darkness, and there's a reason. There's a philosophical reason behind it, and basically, darkness is what the world is really all about, and neon is really what we try to make of it. Like we make it want to look like it's a beautiful neon lit place, but in reality, this is a just dark, gritty environment, and people want to get away from darkness. They want to get into this neon-soaked environment because they think it's going to save them from themselves.
But there's something interesting in that you specifically say neon light and not just light, because neon light is something where you bent, literally, the light to your will. You bent the tubes, you've given it a specific color depending on the gas, etc. So I'm finding that contrast between not just dark and light, but the darkness and light that's been shaped. Seems a bit an interesting choice.
Yes, and it's shaped around things that are perilous for people, but are considered virtues, so to speak. When people consider perilous ideas virtues, that's very dangerous road to go down to.
Okay, I'm just checking the time. Jolly, do you have anything more you want to ask?
I had one thing I was curious about. In the trailer where you had the voiceover, is that a familiar voice that I'm hearing? It's like, it sounds a bit like the dude from Grand Theft Auto 5.
No, not really. Like we have a story with voiceover actors. Like we're currently negotiating with a few. I'm not gonna give you names right now, but we don't. I had a friend who works in. He actually works. He was voicing for cartoons, and he was one of the guys who did it. Another guy was actually me. I voiced another guy.
No, Val, they're talking about the other one, the one we released at the end of August. Sky Soleil.
Sky Soleil, yeah, Sky Soleil voiced announcement teaser. Yeah, he has a record of work. Yeah, he worked for shows and several games, I believe. We're still cooperating with the guy. You're probably gonna hear him again.
Yeah, I was wondering, like is that the main? The dialogue wise, who I was gonna hear talking through the game.
And that's not the main character. No. Oh, we have other actor who want to play for the protagonist. Yeah.
No, I got you. And you should always put yourself in your games. Like that should always be a thing.
Yeah, maybe. People encourage to include the voice. I think my voice is fine, but I'm not much of a voiceover actor.
Like you're gonna have your book on one of the bookshelves in one of the scenes. I know it. Like you're gonna put yourself in the game somewhere.
Probably. Perhaps.
Like the small details. That's what bring these kind of games together. And you're talking about it's a detective game, so people are gonna be paying attention to everything.
They will. It's really about details. Especially details lit by neon. Yeah. If you lit something with neon, you want to make sure you lit something. It's not like emptiness. It has to be like lots of things there. And faces as well. Faces lit on neon. That's cute. That's an interesting thing. Faces lit on neon makes you connect to a person. In some way.
Yeah, I'm picturing some game posters. I know a lot of people like having framed game posters up in the rooms, and just from the trailers, I can see a lot of scenes could go up on a poster for your game.
No, that'd be nice. Yeah.
Yeah. But we have some posters in mind to make, but certain things have to be done in order to make a good poster. I mean, there's, basically the environment, any depiction of environment in our game can be a poster of its own. But we want to include characters into the poster because it's really about personal stories. Personal stories is the center of this game. It's not really the environment is the center. Environment is just reflection of who characters are and who people in the city are.
So most of us at Bamsters are console individuals. Is this game going to launch on all platforms like Xbox, PlayStation, and PC?
And Mac, please.
Yeah, that's what we intend to do.
Yeah, G's all about the Mac. He's like the only Mac gamer here.
All right. We didn't think about Mac yet. I don't know. It's probably Mac is good for work, not for gaming.
Yeah, his gaming is remote play from the PS4 to the Mac.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah.
Hey, I've been playing a lot of Civilization. That runs just fine on the Mac. Stop complaining.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you named one game.
Shush.
Exactly. I know like 5 maybe games on Mac. Maybe there's more, like 6. I don't know.
I think Linux has more of a player base than you guys now.
Oh, really? Okay.
And we did talk to somebody literally yesterday in an interview, and I think Drag asked the question about platforms, and they came back and said, it isn't that we don't want to release on Linux, it's just, no, there needs to be more people playing the game before that's worth it.
I actually don't understand the policies. I mean, I can assume what kind of policies the Apple has, or developers have, when they choose Mac, for instance. Yeah, I think games should be played by many on many platforms in order to get access to Mac.
Okay, guys, it's been awesome, but we're kind of running out of time here. Or more correctly, we run over time already. We need to edit this down a bit. Jolly, well, we have one last question, and since Bam always makes me ask it, I'm gonna make Jolly ask it. Jolly, the penultimate question, as Bam likes to call it.
See, you say that, but I seem like I'm always asking it when I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm just offloading because Bam always makes me do it. So now you get to do it.
All right, so the question is that they always throw at me is favorite type of beer and what kind of bacon would you like to have with that beer, whether it be on a hamburger, sandwich, anything like that.
I think Matt is going to take the beer part.
Okay, I'll answer. Maple bacon with a Corona.
Folks, I'm a very boring guy. I don't drink beer, and I think pork is not kosher.
Get out of here, Val. Are you serious?
Yeah. My team is going to ostracize me. In fact, they are sometimes doing it. For precisely the same reason. I'm just being boring like that.
Well, sorry guys. There you have it. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Maple bacon's good, right?
I would say I will join you on the maple bacon.
I want to find something that can pair it better, though. I feel like Corona doesn't really do it justice. That combo doesn't bring out the full. I feel like it would be a great combination with another beer, but I can't think of what maple would go with.
Well, that's the headache. I don't know the beers in your part of the world. So,
We have a lot of microbrews. You can find any kind you want.
We have a beer here. The names you won't be able to even spell.
Well, I'm an American, so it's not a very hard thing to do.
Yeah, and I mostly drink whiskey. I'm originally from Kentucky, so I mean that's all I drink is whiskey usually. I don't usually drink beer, but if I'm drinking a beer, I'll drink something lighter, refreshing, not too heavy on wheat.
So you just said Kentucky and whiskey, and suddenly everybody listening in Ireland and Scotland turned out.
Yeah, their last name starts with Mac.
Sorry. No, Kentucky does actually do some good ones. So we get one maple bacon with Corona and one no bacon with no drinkables. I'm a bit worried there, but okay. We'll have to fix Kyiv at some point.
I mean, Kyiv hates me, so yeah, I don't think I have to fix Kyiv.
Anyways, guys, it was awesome having you on. As I said, we've been kind of following this game from a distance because it's still new, it's still early days, you're still working on it. It's the second trailer, there's been a few, let's call them leaks. You've been nice enough to tell the press about it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really getting excited about this one. And Val, I'm going to say you're excited too, because it just shows this is something you're really wanting and looking forward to doing.
It is. It is true. It is true. I really want to make this game happen. I really believe in guys that they can do it. I'm more of a mediator. I just make things happen. I don't. I think it's more a game of our team than my game. I don't consider it to be my game specifically. It's more about Matthew. It's about Tony. It's about our artists. And I love what they do, and I really always give them credit for what they're doing. I think they're doing an amazing job, and they've done recently. Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what demo is gonna be like. I'm sure it's gonna be amazing, and people are just going to love it. I'm sure.
I love how that was like a passive aggressive comment there. That you totally complimented you, Val, and he has said didn't say anything about me being passionate about it. I know it's like 1:30 in the morning, but I'm trying, guys.
Oh, yeah. Well, Matthew, it shows as well. I'd say it really is obvious. No, but really, I'm loving when, getting storytellers on and having them kind of explain what it is they're aiming for, where they're going with this, and what their intentions are. It's nice, and it's always fun for us. But as gamers, it's difficult because we're used to seeing the whole thing on a screen, right?
Yeah, and we want to always continue to improve. We want to be able to showcase each time we're showcasing something to the gamers that it gets better and better. And hopefully, coming months, Val, when do we decide the demo is coming? And
I believe March. We aim for March. That's for sure. We have a lot of work to do with animation and mechanics, code mechanics on Unreal Engine, because we have it basically written. The mechanics is written, but importing it into Unreal Engine is another issue we're trying to tackle right now. But yeah, it's coming for March for now.
Gotta get some voice actors too.
Of course, the voice actors, one of the most important things. Yes, but we're not saying who are them. We have certain voiceover actors in mind, but that's for future.
It sounds like an exciting time. Like, you get that demo out, you get to see how the players actually play your game. Like, I'm pretty sure you think you know how they're going to play, but there's always those outliers.
Oh, contrary to that, I don't even know how players are going to play it. Like, I guess maybe that's just me being more absorbed in the story and writing the script, but, I'm trying to envision how they're going to play it. I don't know. But yeah, we don't, on a serious note, we don't, at least I don't know how players are going to react, and it's going to be really good to see some live feedback on, how they play the game. Did the way they play it actually match with how we envisioned it? And if not, what does that say? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Is it both? We have to discuss that.
Yes, testing. Especially I think in a couple of months we're going to have a lot of testing to make it smooth, to make gameplay really smooth.
Like, we do have people come back sometimes, so sometime after the testing happens, you let us know how it goes. See if any changes happen.
Love to. Thank you for having us. Val doesn't insult you guys anymore. I think we'll be okay.
Sure. We'll be happy to show you.
Thank you guys for having us on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
we
thank
appreciate
you guys.
You being up at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, Matt is the hero today. That's for sure.
I just really appreciate the opportunity to give you guys some more information, give your viewers some more information about what we're planning, and hopefully, you guys take a look at the demo. We'd love to come back on. Really appreciate.
Yeah, it's been really exciting talking to you.
Yeah, we would love to check out the demo. Like, whenever you have people tested it out, we have a few people that play PC, we have some console players, we have all platforms covered.
We even have Switch players.
Sounds great. Switch players.
Switch. Yeah. Yeah, we have the Switch too in Draconis.
I actually wanted to get one. I don't
That
get it.
enthusiasm for the Switch right there. You were like so despondent about it.
Very cool. I didn't have to read anything before the podcast. During the podcast, it was really good. It was a blast.
Pretending is not the only deception there is. Not when life is but deception.